for inviting me to be a guest today.
Yeah, glad you are. Carolyn, how's it going?
Good. I'm same. Thank you so much for this.
All right.
It's exciting.
Yes, this is. Okay.
Could I hear one or two of the guests talk really quickly, please?
Okay. Shane?
Based on I'm anxiously awaiting from Seattle.
All right.
Testing live from Detroit.
Hey.
And from Pittsburgh.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, Miss Doswell, we are ready to go.
Okay. All right. It's about that time. It is about that time. I am so excited for this show today. Hey, everybody. Hi. Welcome to the Solmonade Show with Sonia. I'm so glad that you guys are here today. I brought some of my people in, some of my friends, my family, and I am so excited to share them with you today. Welcome to the Solmonade Show with Sonia. Woo! We have great things coming ahead, so be sure to tune in here live at noon Central Time every single Wednesday to see what we are tapping into. Okay, my goodness, my goodness. How did y'all like the show last week with all the moms dealing with everything that they're going through with their littles? What was that called, Gabe? Let's see. That was COVID parenting work-life balance. Can I just say I'm so grateful my kids are grown and I'm not going through that. I cannot imagine trying to homeschool these babies today. I don't even know how they do the math anymore. So, yeah, that was a great show. So everybody go back and check this out. Here at the bottom of the page, there's a little share button. You can click on that share button and share it to your page. Invite all your friends to watch and to participate with us. You guys right down there at the bottom in the comments, you can go ahead and enter your questions that you have for the panel today, concerns that you might have, you know, any rumors that you've heard, any misconceptions that you may have, or whatever, anything that you have heard about the life of a flight attendant. Put it there in the comments, and today we will try to get to as much as we can. Now, they all know we only have 1 hour, and they also know that we could easily sit down and we could knock out this show in about 48 hours. So we will try to just get to it as fast as possible. But First of all, I have a restaurant that I want to highlight today. All right, so every single week, I will highlight and promote one smaller restaurant, privately owned restaurant here in the United States. And I pick one or two every single week, you guys. And, you know, it's a Solmanad way to be out there supporting those small businesses, you guys. Even if you just order, you know, once a week, once every other week, order, go pick it up. Some of the restaurants you can go in, I think they're seating up to like 25, 50%, whatever's going on in your state. Support those small businesses, support those restaurants. And so today, our restaurant of choice, thank you so much for the hookup, Amina, is Smoke in the Pit. Smoke in the Pit. You know, I lived in Memphis, Tennessee back in 1989, 1990. That's where I met my husband, and we eloped. Anyway, you want to talk about some good barbecue. My. And so I saw this. It just made my mouth water. Amina was highlighting this the other day and encouraging folks to go and set up a group to order and go pick it up. And I said, oh, my goodness, girl, I'm going to highlight this on the show this week. So you want a quarter rack, half rack, full rack, full slab, get it. Look at that menu, you guys. It is all there. You want the greens, you want the chitlins, you want the mac and cheese, you want that peach cobbler. My goodness, I'm sure it is all there. Pick it up. It is local. It is a black-owned business. It is right here in a suburb of the Twin Cities in Burnsville, Minnesota. So check them out. Support that restaurant. Take a screenshot of it. Check out their website. You can call and pick up and find out what their hours are. It looks like it's 612-315-3145. Smoke in the Pit. Chicken, ribs, and catfish. Don't want to forget about that catfish. All right, you guys. Looks like Grubhub delivers as well. Wow, excuse me, my mouth is watering. Oh my goodness, I can almost smell the smoke from here. All right, you guys, so I'm just going to get right to it because I cannot wait to share my friends with you guys and my former colleagues. Y'all remember I was an international flight attendant for 21 years for Northwest Airlines, and they were about to merge with another major carrier and were offering an early out package. So at that time, my family and I decided that I would go ahead and step away from that long, wonderful career to go ahead and pursue other avenues and allow other people to come up under me, and they were hired more people and all of that. But you know, once a stew, always a stew. Jet fuel runs right here through our veins, and this is our 10th year, you guys. And I have at the Solmanad Show with Sony, and I have always wanted to have a flight attendant show because I think flight attendants are such unique people. My goodness, we will get to that in a little bit. We are, I'm not trying to brag on myself, but you guys, international flight attendants are a very unique and special group. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things and areas and aspects that people just don't understand about the industry. So I brought my friends on here to talk about that today. All right, so first of all, let's see. Can I, Gabe, can I see my guys up on the screen? I think I was starting with Shane first. Shane Horner from Seattle. Hey.
How you doing, babe?
I'm good, honey. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us from Seattle. And it's sunny Seattle today, isn't it?
Yeah, partly cloudy, but yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for being here, Shane. My goodness, we go back, I don't know, 30 some odd years. Same with all three of our guests today. And yeah, Shane he is my brother, used to be a near neighbor to us. And when our kids were little and we'd be driving him to church or we'd be driving him to Costco, we had our special honk for Uncle Shane and Uncle Brooks. Boop, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So I love you so much. You are just stellar in this industry, and that's why I wanted you on. So we'll get back to you in a second, Shane. Okay, next up here we have Jacqueline. Hey, Jacqueline, I'm so glad that you're here. Jacqueline Meadows is here. Where are you calling, or where are you joining us from today?
Calling in from Detroit, Michigan. And
okay.
Thank you so much for having me as part of this forum. It's so much needed, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jack. I'm so glad that you're here. We love Motown. God bless Motown. God bless Seattle. Looks like Carolyn is just making a minor adjustment there with her ears, so we'll get over to Carolyn in just a little bit. I should ask, Shane, let me go back to you. How long have you been flying?
Ironic you say that. Today is my 35th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Oh,
Class
wow.
4 of 86.
Oh my
Congratulations.
gosh, class 4 of 86. Congratulations.
Wow.
It's crazy, 35 years.
Wow, congrats. Yeah, I was 9 of 89.
Right.
Wow. When we get home, I'm going to pop a bottle of champagne and then
All right.
I'm going to toast you, okay? Happy
good.
anniversary.
Thank you.
And Jackie, how about you? How many years you were in this here?
31
Wow.
years. That was January 23rd. So it feels like year number 1.
Yeah, yeah, right. Happy anniversary to you too. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not bringing on any newbies here, are we?
No, we haven't.
Okay, and then I want to introduce to you my other sister, my friend Carolyn. I'm so glad that you are here. Welcome. And where are you joining us from today?
Actually, I'm in Pittsburgh today. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. This isn't where you normally reside, though, is it?
Well, actually, we have 2 homes.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is one of them, but I spend the majority of my time in Paris.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
how long was your career?
Actually, a little over 35 years because I didn't start at Northwest.
Okay.
I started at TWA. So a little bit more than 35 years.
Wow.
I took the retirement package in August.
Yeah.
So like Shane, this would have been my 35th anniversary with Delta/Northwest
Yeah.
in November.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of years. Collectively, my goodness, we're all looking at about 129 years here collectively. My goodness, my. Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, now if I'm looking down, it seems like I'm not paying attention to y'all. I am, but I am managing here the show on the phone and on the iPad both, so I don't want to miss any comments that are coming in. And then my producer Gabe is in the studio watching as well. So hope you guys have shared this, invited your friends to join in on the conversation. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get to it. I have some people who have submitted questions. And we will address some of those. And, you guys can just chime in, unless I address you specifically, please just feel free to chime in and let's share a little bit of light on the world of the international flight attendant. Okay, so Carolyn, like you and I were talking about yesterday, one thing that people always say is, and I don't know if this came from the 50s or 60s or what, but it's not really a thing, but they always ask us, what is your route? So, and I'm going to link that in with, what would a typical trip look like? Well, again, that depends. So who wants to start at that? I mean, it's so varied. Anybody want to lead off with that?
I'm pretty much international out of Seattle. Mm-hmm. That's being the purser in the purser position. It just the trips I desire to fly are international, mostly Asia.
Yeah.
Don't care to go across the pond as much. It's just harder on the body for me out of Seattle than it is going to Asia. So
yeah,
prefer going to Shanghai, Beijing, Haneda, and miss a lot of our south destinations, but it is what it is. And
yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. All right. How about you, ladies?
I would say primarily being based in Detroit, we have international flying as well as domestic, but being a purser as well, I do love European flying. I try to stay away from the Asia flying because it is hard on the body.
Right.
Other
opposite
entrepreneur adventures going on. But I love Europe. My number one spot, I always call my home away from home is Amsterdam, London, and Paris. So I'm very, very happy, very, very honored to be a leader on those flights. It's great people. We normally fly with the same group of people, so we all gel together, work together as a team, and get it done and take care of the customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and getting it done. And you say the same people, and so a lot of people think it literally is not really changing or evolving. And I've always told people, well, I mean, I worked with a few thousand colleagues. At our seniority, you're bidding similar trips. If you want the Amsterdam, then it goes in seniority order, and it's going to be about that. And it's a lot of the same people over and over. And then there, a few reserves are thrown in, or a couple junior people, or somebody dropped it and picked it up, and And Carolyn, how about you?
Well, I retired out of JFK. I was based on the West Coast, Honolulu, Detroit. I think I started my career in Detroit, actually. So the flights that I was doing towards the end of my career was mostly Africa. That became, one of my favorite destinations. Yeah. Of course, I did Europe because, I love Europe.
Yes.
But just like Jackie was saying, and Shane also, I'm also in the PURSA program, or I was in the PURSA program. And it allows you to meet, I think, more people that way, more colleagues that way. There are colleagues that remember me that I don't remember them, and I'm sorry about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But you get to choose where you want to go. And that's one of the wonderful things about our job is it's so diverse, and it's so, it changes all the time. It's very flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. My jam was always the 3-day international trip. So I started my career in Detroit in 1989, and pretty much they told me where I would go at that time in my life. And then transferred to Memphis and had to learn to embrace the DC-9. And I flew from thisville to thatville to thisville and thatville. Had Jimmy Dean on my flight, and everybody was twanging all over the place. But anyway, and then I was able to head back home. I'm from Seattle, and so did the LA base when it opened October 1st of 1990. Seattle, San Fran, Seattle, Detroit, and that is where I had finished there in Detroit. But my jam really was those 3-day trips because I was rearing a young family. And so, it just didn't behoove our family for me to do the 5- and 7-day trips. The 3-day thing was really my jam. The 3-day Asias when I was West Coast based, and then out of Detroit, of course, the 3-day Europes was my thing. So I did get to miss out on the Bombays. I did get to miss out, but did miss out on, all that south flying, Shane, because of course that involved the 7, 9, 8, or 11-day, 10-day trip, or, however it was configured. But again, that's because I had a young family. But isn't it so unique, you guys, that the schedules really are set up that there is something for everybody?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. The illegals, I mean, it's called an illegal, you guys. It's not really illegal. It's legal, where they would go to the airport and hop on a little DC-9 or A320 at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and just go on a 30, 40-minute flight.
And I can testify, I do those occasionally throughout the year, and they're great.
Yeah, right?
30-minute flights to Spokane, Washington, sleep for 6 hours and come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember going to, what's GRR? Grand Rapids. Yeah. out of Detroit, and then of course in Memphis they were all over from thisville to thatville, and so it would just be the one little leg, and it'd be a 30-minute, 20-minute, 40-minute flight. You lay over for possibly 5 or 6 hours, right, and turn around at 6 a.m. and come back. But all of the moms and dads are doing that as well, or just folks like Shane who want to squeeze in a few extra hours and not be gone so long.
Well, my career flying changed a lot because of having a child. So when I started flying, my daughter was 3 months old. When I started my career, she's now 36. So when she was a young child, I did more of the illegals, the turnarounds, the short flights. When we were on the West Coast, my thing was San Francisco, Honolulu, you turn around and fly right back.
Yeah.
So you could get all of your month flying done in 7 days. So,
except you were exhausted to a degree.
You're exhausted.
and let's talk about that to a degree that most people don't understand, because, you know, you have the oxygen depletion at 30, 40,000 feet, and the dehydration factor and all the germs and everything that we're exposed to. So it is so much more taxing on the body going to work, being in the air, than it was on the ground.
Yeah.
Melatonin and Ambien become your good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Right.
And coffee. Lots of coffee.
Yes. Yes. And then you just become this espresso snob, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely a coffee snob.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so who was it? Jacqueline, was it you guys talking about? I wanted you to tap into, or was it Carolyn? Anyway, commuters. You guys have all commuted, and we've all known commuters. Who wants to tackle that one? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Not me. I'll let Shane and Carolyn handle that. I did enough to.
I did a short.
Born and raised in Detroit and stayed in Detroit, so I don't know about that life, but I always had empathy for the commuters. So I'll let you guys have it.
I thought you had commuted to Chicago for a short season. You stayed in Motown the whole time.
That was me.
Huh? Oh, okay. All right.
That was Carolyn. They got us. They still get us confused. Twins?
They do. They do. Yeah, they call us twin because they think she's. Yeah.
All right. So what does it mean to be a commuter?
Carolyn was
for years.
That's funny. All right, so what does it mean to be a commuter?
Well, I guess I'm the ultimate commuter.
Yes,
since
you
I was
are.
commuting from Paris. Yeah, I pretty much commuted my entire career, I have to say. There were a few times where I lived at base, but being the furthest commuter, which probably applies to, all over, commuting from Paris to JFK. It was difficult. I am not a person that likes to come in the night before. Mm-hmm. A lot of flight attendants do.
Nope.
Luckily, we do keep a house in the United States. So in between my trips, I would get on a plane and actually fly to Pittsburgh if I didn't stay in New York.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I would fly in from Paris that morning,
mm-hmm.
take a nap, and either fly back to Africa that night or back to Paris that night. So basically, I would turn around and go right back. And it's actually, it sounds horrifying, but it was actually easier for me to do that because my body stayed on the same time zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Dave out of Detroit, Jackie, do you know, he was my classmate. David, he was my roommate too in Detroit. He commutes to Thailand. He has a wife there and like 2 little kids. Yeah, there's
what's his last name?
It wasn't Lee, was it?
No, I'm drawing a blank. Caucasian guy, and he married a Thai woman. Anyway, he commutes from Thailand to Detroit, so he comes in.
Oh yes, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yes, I can't remember his last. I flew a 7-day with him a couple of years ago. Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yes, right. Yes. And he was my my roommate too in Detroit, right out of training. Yes, Dave, I'm so sorry because I with this TBI I have, my memory is just not the best. But you talk about some crazy commutes, and then in the United States, so many people live like what Carolyn said, outside of base. And then you have to fly to base, and you have to be there on time to report on time. For me personally, I did not fly in the night before either. With 3 little kids the day before, that was my day. That was my day off still, my time with my family. So I would fly in the day before and then do the Paris or the Tokyo or the Osaka or, whatever. I was only one time zone off when I was Des Moines to Detroit. Otherwise, when I was Seattle and LA, I was living in Seattle. And there was a big group of us from Seattle that had commuted to San Francisco and to LA. And Alaska Airlines back in the day gave us a $5 commuter pass. I don't know if you guys remember that. They gave us a $5 commuter pass, and you just walk up to the counter, slide it off yourself, give it to them, hop on a flight. And so I used to always say to people, they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, a lot of people drive to work, we fly to work. So when you get in your work in your car and you drive to work, you know, for those of us who are commuters, we actually fly to get to work, and then we have to get ourselves situated. I mean, sometimes, you guys, I would just go in the World Club, and I had my favorite little chair, and I would just hole up right there in front of the fireplace and eat my breakfast there and just sleep. And, you know, yeah, you have to sit around and wait 5, 6, 8 hours, you know, whatever it was. But it was just easier for me and my family to go in the day before and then do the trip. Shane, what are you laughing at? Shane, your mic is off. Turn on your mic. Your mic's on mute, honey. He's over there. That's all right.
I have to say, the commute from Paris to JFK was easier than the commute from Pittsburgh to Detroit.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you bummed?
Logistics. It sounds bizarre, but it's the logistics.
Right. Yeah. It is. It's the logistics. I know, that's the truth. My commuting from Memphis to LA was very difficult because, of course, we were the only carrier that even operated that route. And even though there were tons of carriers that went back and forth between San Francisco and LA, we were bumped. I mean, we were doing the O.J. Simpson through the terminals all the time. You know,
we were driving home.
Yeah. Seriously, we were, oh my gosh, you remember that, Shane? Like, we would get in from Tokyo and we would look at the board and we're like, okay, after being bumped so many times off of United, Southwest, Northwest, and Alaska, right? It's like, there's a lot of flights. What's the problem? Like you're talking about from Pittsburgh, but it wasn't easy. And we would
find an alternate direction and go and do what you have to do to get home.
It's like, okay, I've got it, you know, and we're all going over all these different scenarios. Okay. I got it. We go to Honolulu, Honolulu to Vancouver, Vancouver down to Portland, rent a car 3 hours, and drive north. Yes, we can get there by midnight tomorrow. I mean, it was so pathetic sometimes.
Those are crazy times.
Especially around a holiday.
Oh, no. That was the worst.
I actually did a Seattle to Detroit, myself and my best friend, Ann Preby. We had to take a cargo flight from Seattle, and we were supposed to go to Ohio, somewhere in Ohio. We didn't even know where. We just thought, hey, that's close enough to do. This was at Christmas time, and it was crazy. I had to sleep in the back and got to go up front where it was warm with the pilots.
Yeah.
And mid-flight, she opened the door, and I was freezing to death. This pilot had gotten on that works for back then Flying Tigers, and he had brought his sleeping bag, and he had this big, park on and everything. I'm like, what the hell? And I had just my rain jacket on. It was absolutely miserable. And we landed in somewhere in Ohio, and we took a flight out of Cincinnati I can't even remember. It was long. And then we flew. So yeah, you do what you got to do.
You know what, Shane? Yeah. In '89, when we were first hired, we did not have the flight benefits.
Right.
Yeah, and for 6 months, and I actually did the same thing on my own. It was $250 for me to go. It's like to Cincinnati or St. Louis or something, and I hopped on a DC-8 cargo plane in the cockpit with the pilots. Yes, and they did. They offered for me to go in the back and sleep. There's no heat back there. I was like, no, I just came back up in the cockpit. I was exhausted. I mean, I was 21 years old. I had no clue. I was all by myself, but I was so desperate to get back home, the things we do. But you know what? This is a great segue because I want to talk about how creative and resourceful flight attendants are. International flight attendants, we can Olivia Pope any situation, right?
True. True. Yeah.
Yeah. Any scenarios or examples that you guys can give us where you've been working or even non-revving, where you've been around the world and these things pop up and it's like, okay, so we've got Air Italia and then I'll transfer and get on JAL and then we'll, or with hotels or how about
9/11 is a good example of that.
Yes. Talk to us about that.
Well, I fortunately kind of missed all the drama of all that. Myself and two other colleagues and a non-flight attendant friend, we were all on our way to the Greek islands.
Yes.
For 10 days.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
We left on the 10th to Amsterdam, and then got down to Santorini on the 11th. But just as we were stepping off the plane, people are saying, "Oh yeah, there was a plane that crashed in the United States," and we're like, "Oh, okay, any other news?" And so, I mean, that whole 10-day experience and flying with a non-airline person who was totally freaked out, 2 young children, another one with 1 child, another one with 2 children, all in young, and we're all in the Greek islands for 10 days, and there's nothing we could do. We were totally so far removed from everything that was going on in the world that we just, we stayed and we had a great time. And, it was a challenge getting back home to the States, but we did it. And, we got to Amsterdam and they took good care of us and we got home to our families. So,
yeah, I know. I think being in aviation, when we call airports in crisis or we show up at a gate in crisis, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're talking to the cargo guys, the baggage handlers, the gate agents, any flight attendant, you just let them know who you are, right? And say, I need help with XYZ. Boy, things happen fast.
They do take care of you. It's true.
Yeah.
And that's the camaraderie that we have being, gate agents or flight attendants. I mean, I commend the Amsterdam, their KLM, but you know what? They really, really care. Yeah. I mean, hey, Jackie, what do you need? Hey, I didn't get this. And even the caterers, when it gets down to the caterers or someone needing a wheelchair, their whole wheelchair system is totally different. They're not using wheelchairs. They use electric carts. So if you have to, that person can't walk off the aircraft and walk down that long jetway in Amsterdam, they're willing to help. I mean, it's great to have that camaraderie with them, with KLM, that Carolyn and I were stuck in.
We were stuck in Amsterdam together, yes. Yes.
And how many times did we go together during 9/11? That whole week, we would get dressed, say we're going home. Nope, cancel, go right back. They were like, hey, when we got back, finally was able to come home, they felt our pain. They felt our anxiety. They felt, it really hit home, like what really happened. And they all gave, I still have the keychain of the house. I don't know if you still have yours, Carolyn, the blue and white windmill house. They gave us a keychain and everybody just lost it. I mean, they were like, we're sorry what happened in the United States, but we are your family too. And I still carry that with me. It's one of the reasons why I still fly the Amsterdam route, because of the people that work with us and just like family. You see them every week. If you're not there, you don't tell them you're on vacation, they're going to ask, where were you the last 2 weeks? Where were you? I was on vacation. Okay, I'm sorry. Let you know.
Yeah, Amsterdam.
I'm on vacation for 2 weeks.
Amsterdam is like going home. It was like home away from home for me for a very, very long time. And Jackie, like Jackie's saying, we were stuck together for a week, and we were actually, our whole crew was lost in the system. They had no idea where we were.
Oh, really?
But the hotel really took great care of us. And I remember when they finally found us, we had been in Amsterdam for 8 days. I don't know if you left before we did, Jackie. Perhaps you did. But
I think I did. I think I left the day before you. I left the day before you. Right.
Yeah, because they couldn't find us. We were completely lost in crew scheduling. Wow. It was such a mess. They did find us. We ended up deadheading on KLM back to Paris, and we worked the first flight from Paris back to the United States. And they had done some equipment swap. It was back in the DC-10 days.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the lie flat seats that we used to have on the DC-10 for international. It was a domestic DC-10 that they sent. And I remember one of the passengers getting very upset with us and started berating us. And I mean, we had been through it. we had turned around not being able to lie flat for 8 hours. You were free to leave.
That's right.
And, I mean, I was the purser on that flight, and I was trying so hard to hold it together. And I just remember so many of the flight attendants breaking down and crying. And it was amazing, and all of us were together in that hotel. We were actually on lockdown in the hotel. They locked us in, because of terrorist activity. So
it comes full circle to deal with just COVID and even the insurrection. On that day, I was, going to CQ for training, and I had anxiety the whole day.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
It was traumatic to me.
Yeah.
So what was
Yeah.
going, this is the United States, but dealing with that in the airline industry, it's crazy to deal with those kind of, setbacks, and we still go on and we do our job the way we have to do it.
Yeah. And with professionalism and again, just the resources. I mean, flight attendants are 911. They are the police. They are the nurse. They are the medics. They are the doctors. They are the psychiatrists. They are Nanny McPhee. They are the counselor. They're not just there to pop open a bottle of Bordeaux and clear your plate and serve you chicken or beef. I mean, and our training, I think, was the best in the industry as far as the United States, and I believe and understand that it still is, even as Delta has taken over Northwest Airlines. The training is excellent, and it is not as much service focused as it is with the medical emergencies and safety and security, because we are the first line of defense for our passengers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
they definitely look to us for body language, facial expressions, and Shane. Just to recap on what Shane said, we still have a job to do.
Right.
We still have to remain professional and calm in any situation to keep that whole aircraft calm, and we're everything right here together, and to keep that ship. And being pursers, we're the leader. They're going to bounce off of our energy.
Yep.
And if we're down, they're down. If we're up and willing to do it, they're up and willing to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I have to say that both Jackie and Shane are two of the best pursers that I know in our company. Absolutely.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carolyn, too, I flew with you when you were purser as well, and just exemplary leadership from all three of you guys, and just that strong, confident, gracious, patient, knowledgeable decision-making when those kinks happen, and they do. I mean, literally almost on every single flight, there is something that's going to happen. Those red flags are definitely going to come up, but it's a matter of how, those fires are being put out. And I've watched all of you just exceed, anybody's expectations, and I commend all of you in your level of excellence and professionalism.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. As we were talking earlier, I was saying international flights are so unique and so resourceful, and it would just behoove everybody to have an international flight attendant in their corner in their life.
If you want a problem solved, yes.
Yeah, if you want a problem solved and you want somebody who is bold and strong and confident and probably is already experienced in walking down this road anyway, you want to have a flight attendant in your corner. Yeah. If I had my own big company and I were looking through resumes, and if I saw that show up on a resume, they would be at the front of the line for me to interview them, for sure. Yeah. Can we talk about security issues and medical issues? I know you guys have also experienced so many over the years, but I want our viewers to understand when I say we are the first responders and right there on the front line. Give us some examples. Just kind of throw some out that have happened. Seizures, heart attacks, labor pains. What else?
I've had probably every medical issue. By the grace of God, I've never had anyone die on my flight. I've had colleagues that had lost customers on the flight, and but security issues. I mean, I've been really blessed to have a great career in 31 years where I didn't have any serious issues. And people are like, "What? I had this, I had that." I've been really, really blessed. I mean, I've had issues where we got it under control and we have FAMs now and just knowing that extra security. And I think when people know, you don't know if a FAM is on your flight or not. They know how far they can go with a flight attendant before something happens, where they don't want to be involved with the police when we land or involved with the FAM on the flight. So, like I said, I think one issue of where I was on break and this guy had took some Ambien and had a little bit too much of that alcoholic beverage and was trying to open the aircraft door at door 2 on the Airbus. And they came and got me. And I was on break, and I always tell my crew, hey, if it's something you don't feel comfortable, by all means, come and get me. Come get me up, I would hate to hear you didn't come get me because you wanted me to sleep. By all means, come and get me. And the guy was literally saying somebody was chasing him and he had to get off the plane. But, that's where my police training kicked in as well as my airline training. And sometimes you have to, with the mental illness going on now, you have to try to react cautiously and calmly. And they'll calm down. If not, then we have to do the other. It just so happens this guy calmed down. We moved him away from the exit, and he went to sleep for the remainder of the flight. So that probably was about the most excitement that I've ever encountered in my 31 years. Like I said, we've had medicals, and they've all survived, and no one passed away. So, and no children was born. I never, no children. I didn't have that excitement. I was like, I want a baby, like name it Jackie. Jackie, So I haven't had that excitement. But like I said, I've had colleagues that had experiences that like wow experiences. So. I tip my hat to that, and like I said, by the grace of God, I haven't had red, yellow emergencies, so, we're going to keep it that way.
Yeah, right.
Well, I can say I've had everything except the baby on the plane. Yeah, everything except that. Flying the Accra flights to Ghana, it was always something. Yeah. We left very late at night, so catering was gone. Everybody was gone from the airport. So if there was ever an issue, we pretty much had to put it together and make it happen. I mean, we've had to totally recater our own plane. We've had to create meals from nothing, which happens a lot with flight attendants. And I don't think passengers understand how many times we've had to create loaves and fishes.
That's right.
On the plane.
That's right.
and feed people, it's amazing. It's magic. On one of my recent Accra flights, I actually had a passenger who passed away. And we were actually able to bring him back to life, which was probably the most amazing thing that has ever happened. One of the passengers ran forward. We were starting our second service before landing. One of the passengers ran forward and said, "There's something wrong with the man who's sitting in front of me." So I went there, I did the tap and shout, which we're taught, "Are you okay?" And the man slumped over, he was dead.
Wow.
We had 4 doctors and a nurse on board. They laid the gentleman into the aisle, and we started CPR, and we were able to bring him back together. It was myself and another flight attendant, Bonnie, who were working with the doctors and the nurses. We had to do IV. It lasted the 90 minutes of that whole entire time, but this man came back to life.
Wow.
So that was probably, and I had an airplane catch on fire, and we actually evacuated on the, so yeah, had it all.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
Wow.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
I've only had 2 medicals and 1 emergency, and nothing came of it, which was good. So.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah.
You're fortunate.
I'm very lucky. Knock on wood, like I said.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. We had so many over the years. I won't take up time sharing all that. And we need to do a flight attendant forum 2.0. So maybe I'll pick that up next time.
Like you said, on every flight, it's something.
Yeah, it is. It's
Howard the
always
masterpiece.
Me, you're really.
You're cutting out just a little bit, Jackie.
I think she's frozen.
Yeah, she'll come back. Yeah, she can probably hear us. She'll come back. I do want to share with our viewers that the flight attendants are so resourceful and so creative. And over the years, I've, and you guys you've flown with so many that actually have second careers, whether it's so much time in volunteerism, raising their small children, or furthering their education, or having a second career. So, Gabe, I have some pictures that we put together for you, and they're of some of you guys. And I just want to share this before we transition into talking about flight attendant work during COVID. And then we're going to do some rapid fire, who are the famous folks that you've had on their flights. And we can just fire out all those names. But first of all, Gabe, go ahead and share those photos. So if you guys can see, we have Jackie here, who is a police officer in Detroit. Jackie, what award are you getting right there?
That was the Comstead Award, and that's with our chief, James Craig. I got honored, that was maybe my first year I want to say Katrina, was it not Katrina, but the hurricane that came in through Houston 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember the name, but we put together for the first responders there. They socks and T-shirts and pajamas and whatever essentials they needed. So we got together with Comerica Park and Ford Field, so all the fans could bring in supplies for the first responders, because sometimes we get forgotten. We take it to, the seniors, the children, or the families, but the first responders who was working around the clock, they needed socks, they needed shoes, they needed T-shirts, they needed sweatshirts.
Sure.
So, I just pitched in, and people were dropping stuff off at police headquarters, and we had a huge 18-wheeler logistics truck, and we had to separate socks, T-shirts, hand sanitizer, whatever, towels, whatever. And we filled that truck up. And one day I get a call from my coordinator and says, "You won the Comstead Award." I'm like, "What's that?" They're like, "Just for your work." And I said, "That's what we do."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, the chief wants to recognize you in that." So I felt honored getting that. And he doesn't let me forget about that when I see him out. He calls me the general.
Yeah.
Awesome.
At that award, he says, "Hey, anybody need an airline ticket? Go see the general sitting in the back," and I'm sitting down here like. But it was an honor to get recognized by the Detroit Police Department Chief James Craig and the neighborhood policing. It was great, and we helped a lot of first responders. So my captain at the time, they drove. It was maybe 10 police officers that drove that truck to Houston and presented to the first responders.
That's awesome, Jackie. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And you know, so much of that would come from your flight attendant training. You know, the fish and bread thing that you're talking about, right? I mean, we have to provide. I mean, you know, when people have issues, I'm so proud of you and happy for you getting that award. I commend you in your service of excellence.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it takes, as they say, it takes a village. And I thought it was just a grand idea of the fans being able to drop off essential needs for first responders, police, EMT, firefighters, of the clergy. They all benefited from our drive.
That's beautiful. I love that. Gabe, you have some other photos coming up. What else do we have? I know we have Shane and his volunteerism. Here's Carolyn. Carolyn, we have promoted your book on the show a couple other times before. You want to share with us what you're doing here in your recent retirement, ma'am?
Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
So, some years ago, this idea came to me to write a children's book, not to publish it, but for my first granddaughter, Leilani, who just turned 4. So the book series is called The Adventures of Maxine and Beanie. And it's about a precocious little girl who has all sorts of adventures. And my idea behind it was to promote the family units, because you don't see that. I heard over and over and over again how young children of color are not seeing themselves represented in children's literature. I did a little research, and only 19% of any books published for children is multicultural or has a person of color in the leadership role of that book. So it's something that is very necessary. And I've gotten a lot of support from people who are like, you know, they're giving it to their children or their nephews, their nieces, or people that they know in their neighborhood. And, you know, they're very kind about stating that the children are excited to see somebody that looks like them represented in children's literature. And the big part of the book that I think sets it apart from other children's books is the section inside called Paws, P-A-W-S. As you can see, there's a kitty. So it's 2 little paws like that. And it's a play on words, because you do pause, P-A-U-S-E, in the book to discuss things that are very, very important subjects with children. And it's about safety. It's about if you are in an unsafe situation, what do you do? How do you handle it? It's about using your imagination, reading, family, all that sort of stuff. So.
I love it. Well, I already bought my copy and gave it to our little neighbor girl, and I'll be getting the second copy as well. Thank you. I'm so proud of you for what you're doing, girl. I'm telling you, flight attendants are talented. And Shane, you spend so much time traveling and giving back to communities around the world. You do work with Habitat for Humanity, and you're just always giving, and of course, that's your heart. As it is. Yeah. I know there's so many great pictures out there with you and Anne and Linda. How fun to serve alongside your friends, too.
The opportunity was awesome. Unfortunately, COVID has, taken that opportunity away, but just having the two international builds that I was on was an amazing thing that Delta did, and Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
Giving back to the poor communities, and Argentina and Mexico, the 2 that I did. It was it was heartfelt just to see the expression on the people's faces when you completed the job, and even during the whole time building and getting to meet the families and working with your fellow colleagues. It's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for always giving back. I love you, Boo, and I love your heart. Yeah. I see Anne here in this other picture. Then in the next shot we have, this is our friend that we all love and adore.
Cesar.
Yeah, there's Cesar. Hey, Boo.
I do too.
Yeah.
He is so talented with his art. I actually just purchased a piece. I hope my husband's busy at work and not watching this, but for my husband's birthday of John Lewis, you guys saw that piece?
Oh,
Yeah.
I got in time, and I got mine coming.
Wow.
I'm so
Nice.
excited. It actually is supposed to be delivered today. And then we have Kim Godby, I'll know here out of Detroit, and her love for Paris, of course, and her French boutique that she has, her own business on the side. She's been running successful. Look at this piece that Cess had done. Oh my goodness. And there's Kim's boutique. Then we have Gretchen, who's right here in Minneapolis, and she has been traveling with her dogs across the country in national dog shows, competing, and has just a thriving business on the side with that. And here we have Carol Canane is in here. She has a travel business that she's had for years. She recently took the early retirement, as well as we know so many of our colleagues have. Okay, here's Jared. In fact, he was going to be in studio with us today on the show. He is on his flight right now, so he wasn't able to be here, but he is a singer, entertainer. And then, of course, we have Daniel Compton here, is a musician, voice coach, extraordinaire. I believe homes in Amsterdam and Atlanta, right, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he and his husband have both. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was Paris.
Is it
No,
Paris?
he's in Amsterdam.
It is Amsterdam.
He's in
Yeah.
Amsterdam? Okay.
Yeah. And then we have Richard that runs an entertainment company, putting on and producing events. I can tell you here in the Twin Cities, he's given back to the community so much. And then, of course, there's our friend Eric. We have modeling. We have my girl Roz, who has a real estate license and over the years has flipped houses. This is a very short list of folks that I love and that I'm so proud of. There's Susan. She's a ski instructor. There. Do you see that picture? Isn't that great, Shane?
No.
Yeah. And what other industries do you guys know that flight attendants are involved in? Other careers or?
There's doctors, lawyers, chiropractors.
Yes.
Restaurateurs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, a lot of restaurateurs.
A lot of restaurateurs, real estate agents, a lot of real estate agents.
Interior design.
Yeah. Estheticians. Automotive, yeah.
Construction.
Yeah. LMPs. Esthetician.
Nursing is big.
Yeah.
A lot of nurses.
True.
Yeah.
And historically, I think we've had nurses. Well, of course, that's how the flight attendant had started, right? And so traditionally, we've always have had quite a high percentage of flight attendants are also nurses. Yeah, and so many flight attendants.
How many people with degrees started this? Started in the airline industry.
Yeah. Right.
From having a bachelor's or a MBA or whatever to going to be a flight attendant.
Right. And it's just so difficult to walk away from with all the flexibility. And so, we can have these second careers and these other opportunities to raise our families and to serve our communities. And that's another thing. Flight attendants are just so generous. The volunteerism is, it's got to be in the 90th percentile around it there, don't you guys think? Just people are always giving.
Definitely.
Giving back and serving. Okay, we had a couple questions that came in, and I know I had told you guys that we would do this. So, all right, so I want you guys, I'm going to give you a second to think about, everybody always asks us who are the famous folks that we've had on our flights, right? So we can just do rapid fire. Let's make sure that we can hear each other, though, with Zoom. Sometimes Zoom will cut somebody out. But how about if we just go round the horn here? So looking at the screen, it looks like Carolyn, you're on the top, and then let's just go.
Well, it's funny because I see my husband has posted a question here.
Oh, that's funny.
Pierre.
Yeah, that's my husband, Pierre.
Yeah.
Hey, Pierre Landro, how are you? Yes, I see that now over here. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, well, I know what he wants me to talk about. He wants me to talk about when I had Rihanna on the flight.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she was traveling with her associate, I guess her personal assistant. And so she was trying to hide, and she was sort of incognito. And I did not call her Rihanna.
Yeah.
I called her Miss, what's her last name? Fuentes? No. Robin. Anyway, I called her by her last name. She wanted her steak well done. So, cooking on the airplane is challenging as it is.
Yes.
So I did 2 rounds in the oven and then stuck it in the bun warmer.
Did you really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. So that thing, and she told me it was perfectly done. As she was leaving, she had on a pair of her eyeglasses that she was going to Paris to do the fashion show. Right. And I said that they were, I complimented her, and she stopped. She turned around and gave me the biggest hug in front of like all the passengers, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, did she just hug you?" So my husband, I texted him and I told him what happened, and he tells me, he goes, "Well, don't shower until I get home from work so I can hug you too."
And Carolyn, I'm so glad that you said that, because we all know that we don't need to mention their names, but there unfortunately are many on board, and we are instructed sometimes not to look them in the eyes, that we are not to speak to them directly, we are only to speak to their handler. So we'll just move on past those folks. But who else, Carolyn? Throw out another name.
Yeah, we've all had them.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
All right, throw out some names. Go ahead.
Gloria Estefan, but that was way back. That was like 20 years back when she was, at the top of her career and the height of her career. She's a very nice lady, very nice lady.
I would say the most inspiring, the most sentimental was having Rosa Parks on the flight.
Wow.
And did you?
She was, my grandparents would host her when she would take all the high schoolers from Detroit down to walk the Edmund Pettus Bridge every summer. So, when she walked on the flight, I was like, and my grandmother would call and say, "You need to come down here and take this walk." And I'm like, "I'm not doing that walk," So she's like, "You need to come." And then I had to let her know that I'm a Meadows. And she said, "Henry and Ada Meadows?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Not too many Meadows that I know." And I said, "I am a product of Henry and Ada Meadows."
Wow.
And she hugged me, and I just started crying.
Of course.
And she says, and I said, "Thanks to you. This all I want to do is thank you." And we had the picture of my grandmother and her when she would come down and they would host them, because my grandfather was the mayor of a small little town called Whitehall, Alabama, right between Selma and right in between Montgomery. So, I couldn't appreciate it at that time being younger, but when I met her on the flight, I immediately called my grandmother from a payphone. I put maybe like $6 in quarters in the payphone and call her and let her know who I met. And she says, "Job well done." It was free to meet her. Job well done. The funniest celebrity I ever had was what was the exercise guy named Richard
Simmons.
Richard Simmons with the shorts.
Yeah. I think we all had him on the flight once.
We all had him on the flight, right? That was probably the funniest funniest guy I've ever had on the flight. The other celebrities always were pretty much quiet, really respectful. I've never had anybody on the flight that I couldn't give eye contact with or speak to the handler. So, and I probably would have been like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, so the years with dealing with celebrities and people like that, I must say Rosa Parks was the most inspired and inspirational person that I got to meet before her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah. Elizabeth Montgomery, she was so sweet.
Huh.
I've had Akon. He signed everyone's autograph and took pictures with everyone. He was so nice. Just a really kind man.
Yeah.
Gosh, so many.
Prince.
Mitzi Gaynor back in the day.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. She was very sweet too. Very nice.
When we were LA based, we had a lot in and out of LA, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Bivens.
Prince.
Prince. Yeah, Prince a couple times.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Yeah.
They were always on our flight.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They were always on the LA Minneapolis route, right?
Right.
Uh-huh. Yep. Always. I think they knew us by name.
Yeah. Yeah. And those famous sumo wrestlers, you guys remember that on the 747?
Oh, yeah, Akibono.
Yeah, and so sometimes they would take out that centerpiece between the two seats, you know, and
They got sit there.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've had Yo-Yo Ma and his cello. They both got their own seats.
Yes. Wow, very cool.
Wow.
My first was Al Pacino. I was 21 years old, and it was a Detroit Indy flight, very, very short flight. And I noticed him when he walked by me on the 727 stretch. I was there at the closet there, right behind first class, helping to board, and in my burgundy uniform. And he walked by me, and I'm about 5'3.5", and he was eye level with me, and my heels were just a couple inches. And I thought, wow, such a handsome guy, you know, for a short guy, you know. I mean, my husband's 6'4", so I like my, tall, but I thought, wow, he's handsome. And so then he goes and he sits in coach, and when we're doing the beverage service, he was sitting in 9 Delta, and he ordered a gin and tonic. And so I went and I made his drink, and I looked at him, and I said, you look a lot like, and I reversed the words. I said, you look a lot like the guy who stars as Al Pacino in Scarface instead of stars as Antonio Montoya, right? And I said, you look a lot like the guy that stars as Al Pacino in Scarface. And he just was kind of annoyed with me, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, And I said, oh, I'm sorry. You should check out the movie. I mean, you really do resemble him. And he's like, okay. Well, in hindsight, of course, he thought I was probably teasing and knew exactly who he was, Mm-hmm. And so then I pushed the beverage cart, and I went up to 10, and you would have thought I was on a soul flight or something. He literally reached toward the back of my skirt and pulled on my skirt. And I turned and looked, and now he's joking and laughing, and he says, well, sometimes I get Robert De Niro. And I went back. So I stepped back, and I went to him, and I took his face like this, you guys. Okay. I squatted down right in front of him. I took his face, and I went left to right, and I said, no, it's not De Niro. You really resemble that guy that stars as Al Pacino. And he said, who's this? And now he knew I was serious, that I had no clue. Yeah. And I said, Al Pacino. And he says, oh, and what's the movie? And I said, and I'm like this, I was 21. I said, it's called Scarface. The acting is incredible. I've seen it like 10 times. But they say the F word a lot. And there's nudity. So I just want to warn you. But really, check out that movie, because you really do resemble this guy. And so on I went. Okay, short flight, because it's Detroit Indy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm up at the front jump seat, and for the only time in my entire career, they couldn't open the forward door, the boarding door. So I'm in 1B in the jump seat, and so everybody has to about face and deplane out of the aft stairs. That's the only time that we ever had that issue where we couldn't open that door, okay? So everybody turned around to plane, and so there I couldn't say goodbye to everybody, right? So I went to the back galley. We went through and picked up all our People magazines and stuff, right? And went to the back galley, and I was talking to the flight attendants, and this flight attendant, this guy, hands me this little piece of paper. And it was a receipt from remember the Host stores? They ran all the airport stores, right? Host. It was a Host receipt that he must have scrambled to grab a piece of paper real quick. And in pencil, he wrote, Sonia, you are very wise. Underline, thanks, Al. And immediately the conversation rewound in my head, and they were like, who was that guy? And I go, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. I said, you guys, that was Al Pacino. But I told him he looks like the guy who stars as Al Pacino instead of Antonio Montoya. I can't believe I held his face. I told him, oh my gosh. So, yeah, pretty embarrassing. I always say I would love to see Al again. And if you'd remember the flight attendants who's holding his face, telling him about himself, basically.
Sonia.
Girl, I know.
Only you.
I know.
Only you.
And tons of politicians. You know, we've all had all the politicians on and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, not Barack Obama, but the Clintons.
Bill Clinton. No, actually, I non-revved with Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, those Memphis-based flight attendants had Hillary and Bill Clinton on quite a bit over the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never did.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I never did.
And Robert De Niro. But see, you know, traveling to Paris as a guest a lot.
Yeah.
I got to sit up front, and so I would see a lot of celebrities. You know?
Right. Wait, the
that
real
were
Robert De
there.
Niro, or was it Al Pacino?
No, it was the real Robert De Niro. He was filming something in Paris.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, when you're not in uniform, you definitely
Right.
can't just walk up randomly to people and start talking.
I know.
So.
That's the thing. Yeah, I've non-revved so many times with people. And one time I non-revved with Prince on. But I was non-revving, and that's different. Oh, and when we say non-rev, you guys, that means that we're flying as a passenger, and we don't identify ourselves as a crew member. Obviously, we're not a working crew member, so that's kind of a faux pas. But yes, I've non-revved with so many celebrities, and you just can't say anything, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, our time is up for now here, just about. We definitely need to do a 2.0 because you flight attendants are just amazing. And one thing I did want to touch on, though, that we didn't do before is, can you guys just share with us what it's looking like flying in this COVID era? How are you protected? What are the precautionary measures, the testing and stuff that you guys are doing in flight and all that?
Delta's taking the lead on that, that's for sure.
Yeah. I bounced right back. That's what I was just getting ready to say. You know, back in March of 2020, and I had this conversation earlier on the podcast earlier this morning, where last year this time we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know. You know, everyone was afraid. When you walk into the airport on my last day at that time was March 24th. It was such an eerie feeling. Everything was closed. McDonald's was closed. All the stores were closed. People were scared. You could hear a pin drop. You didn't know if you were going to have a job this week or next month.
Yeah.
But, you know, Delta has definitely stepped up the game with the sanitizing of every flight, keeping Lysol wipes on the flight, hand sanitizing to the passengers once they board the aircraft. If you need a refresher of your mask, refreshing the mask for the customers. So Delta has really stepped up the game and continuing to block that middle seat.
Absolutely.
To keep people at ease, keep people comfortable while they're flying. Mm-hmm. So I definitely commend the company for that.
Yeah, I obviously
during COVID times as well as just to see the latest, the USA Today, the Delta was named #1 for service.
Yes.
Of all the other international airlines. I think during this time we've really stepped up, and we've made the customers feel calm and shown them that we do care, and the mask thing is an issue. It's we're the mask police, and it's nice that the government has mandated that now, and our rules aren't as stringent to have to tell everybody to do this. Everybody should know because they sign a waiver and everything else. But,
right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of planning and preparation and careful thought, and really being intentional. And I commend Delta. I've just non-revved on just a couple airlines. I've really pared way back on my non-revving and stuff. But they're doing it right, and they've been doing it right from the jump. I keep saying that, and I commend the crews, just always making everybody feel assured and confident, and they're always just so professional. professional and just as patient as ever. So I do commend them. And you guys are being tested before your flights and stuff too, aren't you?
We are. Mm-hmm. We can get tested, yeah.
Yeah, you can get. Yeah, because I see on Facebook all the time, everybody's pretty much opting to. So, yeah, they're definitely doing it right. And you guys are going through a lot. You know, flight attendants make sacrifices, hidden sacrifices that people are just not even aware. They're completely off the radar. But there are sacrifices being made in one way or another, literally on every single flight. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you guys all for being our guests on the Solmanad Show with Sonia. Do each of you have one final word or anything that you'd like to share before we go off the air here?
Thank you for
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
No. That's okay. I just thank you so much for inviting me on the show, and it's been a pleasure to provide you the information that you wanted to portray.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Shane. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for the invitation. I saw someone ask if you would have your children be flight attendants. And if my daughter had wanted to be a flight attendant, I would have supported that 100%.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, but yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about our career. Yeah. Because of COVID, I did take the early retirement. I wasn't ready, but then I was ready. So,
Congratulations.
Well, once again, thank you for having me, and thank you for thinking of me for this great forum to spread awareness of our jobs and our careers. We all had great careers, including you, Sonia.
Yeah,
it was always a pleasure flying with you. It was always a pleasure talking to you outside of the airline. And unfortunately, we were trying to get together this summer, and when you got that 5 a.m. wake-up call,
right.
I was like, girl, I got to get up. So, I'm gonna make a. She gave me a rain check on it, so I told her one day I'll just fly in and just let her take me around the Twin Cities and watch her awesome work like she's always been doing. So thank you again. It was great seeing Shane. It was great seeing my twin, Carolyn. And obviously it was great seeing you, Sonia. Thank you again.
Thanks, sis. I love you. I love all of you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We are family for life. We have a very special bond between all of us. And I just wanted to extend this platform and just share this love and this mutual adoration and admiration and respect that we have for one another, and shed a little more light on the industry and the career of flight attendants. So thank you all so much. I'll see you guys back here next week on the Solmanad Show with Sonia. I hope to be doing some special coverage for the Chauvin murder trial for Officer Chauvin who murdered George Floyd, and the charges that are up on the other 3 officers who took George's life that day. So it's going to be real hot here in the Twin Cities. It's very important. All eyes are going to be back here again on the Twin Cities, and I'll do my part to roll up my sleeves and come together side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and heart to heart with my local community and with my community across the country, that being anybody who cares and is concerned for the injustices that are happening here in America. So tune in next week, and we'll be bringing you more information about that. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the Solmanad Show with Sonia. Y'all stay blessed in whatever you put your hands to do. Until next time, ciao.